if you start to see a war coming or a takeover, a strongman or something, um, it's usually not things that happen out of the blue, right? That's to say that like you might have a 2 or 3 month runway where you're like, I don't like the risk profile right now. Let me sell this. Let me put it on the market for 5% less than everyone else and get rid of it, right? So I think the risk factor is a lot lower than most people would think. Um, I would say a student housing building is probably a higher risk and a lower return because you are going to get, it's not going to get seized from you, but you're going to get property damage, right? And it's going to be a lot more management work. And there's also a risk of just owning all your property in one country, like in America, right? Um, there could be changes in the tax laws, and that goes up significantly. Changes in the rental laws. You could have something like COVID happen, where if you owned a property for a year and a half, you weren't allowed to kick out a tenant that wasn't paying rent, right? If you had all your properties there, you would have had a real income problem, right? So I would say it's less risky to have, let's say, properties in 6 countries in Southeast Asia than it is to have the same amount of money invested, but all your properties in America. Um, so there's the risk factor, but I think spreading across, continents and countries helps a great deal in that regard. And let's say you had the 6 million right at 15%, it's 90K a month. Um, Even if you're giving you get a good property manager, you're giving him 15%, you're still keeping 80K, right, to do no work outside of collect the check and sign the insurance document every year that your assistant handles, right? Um, and the dope thing is you're doing it through a corporation, right? Probably set up in that country, probably owned by a holding co and a hold co in, let's say, Dubai or the BVI, and the money funnels into your bank account in that country's currency, right? So it comes equipped with bank account diversity, comes equipped with currency diversity, right, to where the funds are being stored in the currency of that country in that bank account. And in a lot of cases, if you're investing more than $300,000-400,000 in the country, you can get a real estate investor's visa, right? Um, you know, the, a lot of the visa situation is if you invest enough in property, you can get a long-term visa. In a lot of cases, like Indonesia and in other places, it can lead to permanent residency over the case of 5 years, even if you're not living there most of the year. So you get PR in another country. So it comes with these secondary benefits. And if you don't like holding the cash in that particular currency, right? You can always send the cash to your Wise account, right? In that country's funds, convert it easily to whatever your USD and funnel it back up into your Dubai holding company, right? Holding it in USD or putting it back into your um, other businesses, or just funneling it into an account to live on it and respend it. That being said, though, if let's say you live in Southeast Asia, you've got bases between Thailand and Bali to account for never having to deal with a rainy season. It makes sense to have, you can keep a lot of those funds in those particular bank accounts and currencies. In addition to that, you like to travel around with your girlfriend within Southeast Asia and go to places like Dalat, which is a mountain town in Vietnam, or um, Vientiane in Laos, which is a city that no one likes except for me. I think it's cool. It's like you know, it's got this old school French kind of vibe because it was a colony at some point and good food, and it's a quaint little town, especially for a capital city. So you could be, um, you know, stacking money from that property in the country and then just spend it when you're on vacation and have your debit card. And in some cases, right, you could take these condos, right, and for, let's say, June, July, it's unrentable on Airbnb during the seasons because you're going to come in with your girlfriend and stay in Vientiane for 2 months, right? So if the condos are nice enough, and you block them out, and you're doing kind of like 1 to 3 month rentals on Airbnb, or booking, right? Then you've got some lifestyle investment for yourself and some vacation type deals, right? Um, so there's a lot of benefits there to that, and yeah, I think it's a lot lower risk than people would assume. Um, and it's a diversification hedge. If let's say all your money comes from selling into America in USD, right, to get paid in those foreign currencies, as well as just having funds in foreign bank accounts, you feel a lot safer, especially when you understand banking and you see stuff like SVB blow up. Like that was a shock to me that some of these tech companies had all their money in SVB, all the like it was their sole business bank account. Companies worth 40, 100 million, and they had like no idea of like wealth protection, right? At least have some money in, you know, the four big American banks that are probably going to get bailed out, right? You don't want to be sitting there watching, this new tech bank go down and hoping that there's going to be a bailout or that your depositor's insurance is going to cover it, which it fucking won't, right? It comes up to 250K. Um, so having those bank accounts is a nice thing. Um, and having that silo, um, is very important. Having um, the silos of the different countries, right? Like the 6 million in 6 countries, it's 1 million per country, right? Because if one of those countries went down for whatever reason, that million was seized, you still have 5 million across those other countries, and you can sort of think out 20, 30, 40, 50 years in advance. Okay, if worst case scenario, I lose one of them, you know, the rest have been accumulating for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I'm all right with that.